Welcome to this presentation about building a culture of respect. In this training, you will learn how to set and respect boundaries in everyday interactions. My name is Katie Parks, and I am an Assistant Director in the CWU Office of Health Promotion. I've been working in the field of violence prevention and response since 2016. My work involves teaching tools for respectful, healthy communication, like consent and boundaries. I want people to experience the profound effects of deep connection in their relationships. In my free time, I enjoy hiking, reading, and spending time outdoors. I want to give a content warning for this training. While there is no explicit discussion of sexual harm in this presentation, discussion of boundaries and boundary violations may bring up difficult emotions for those engaging with this training. If you have experienced interpersonal or sexual violence, you have options. If you would like to discuss your experience with a confidential support person, you can connect with a path advocate. They can provide you with options and help you determine the best path forward for your healing. If you would like to report your experience to the university, you may contact the Office of Civil Rights Compliance and Title IX. They can tell you your options for supportive measures through the university and complaint resolution options. You are not alone. Support is available. Here at CWU, we are committed to fostering a community where respect is the cornerstone of all of our interactions. We can use skills like practicing consent in everyday interactions, setting and respecting boundaries, and helping out in problem situations to build this culture at CWU. Today, we'll be focusing on setting and respecting boundaries. So what are boundaries? If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down your definition of boundaries. Boundaries are what is okay and what's not okay for you and others. Your boundaries are personal limits or expectations that help you define what is acceptable for you. They guide how you interact with the people in your life. While you may have heard of the golden rule, treating people how you want to be treated, at Central, we treat Wildcats how they want to be treated, which is the crimson rule. This approach recognizes that Wildcats are unique individuals with different backgrounds, experiences, and identities. Treating others how they want to be treated is how we build a culture of respect at CWU. So let's see how much you know about boundaries. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down different categories of boundaries. For example, physical. Generally, we talk about 9 different types of boundaries. These are emotional, financial, intellectual, material, physical, sexual, spiritual, time, and verbal. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down an example of each type of boundary. For example, a physical boundary might be defining your personal space and how close others can get to you. On this screen, we've listed 2 examples for each type of boundary. Please take a moment to pause this slide along with the next 2 to read the examples. Alternatively, I will read each of the examples out loud. Emotional. Limiting how much time or energy you give to others. Asking for space when you need time to process something or time alone. Financial. Having and sticking to a budget for a meal, trip, or celebration. Not being willing to lend money to friends or family. Intellectual. Refraining from discussing certain topics with certain individuals or based on the setting. Determining when you feel safe to express your own ideas, beliefs, and values. Material. How others can or cannot interact with your belongings or property. Not using your personal contact methods like phone or email for work. Physical. Types of greetings you are most comfortable with, such as a hug, kiss, handshake, or no physical contact. Defining your personal space and how close others can get to you. Sexual. Communicating what you enjoy, what you're open to trying, and what you're not open to sexually. Being only partially undressed or naked during a sexual interaction. Spiritual. Keeping religious or spiritual beliefs to yourself. Declining an invitation to attend a worship service that conflicts with your beliefs. Time. Reserving time to do schoolwork or important projects, as well as time to spend with friends or family. Not checking work messages or emails outside of scheduled work hours. Verbal. Asking someone not to use certain language around you. Not allowing others to speak down to or yell at you. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down an example of a boundary setting statement. What could you say to set a boundary with someone? There are lots of ways to set boundaries with others. The most important thing is to use language that you're comfortable with. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write 3 boundary setting statements you would feel comfortable using with the people in your life. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down an example of how you might ask someone what their boundaries are. There are lots of ways to ask others what their boundaries are. Once again, the most important thing is to use language that you're comfortable with. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down 2 or 3 questions you would feel comfortable using to ask someone what their boundaries are. Here are some tips for setting and respecting boundaries. Pay attention to your needs and the needs of others. Focus on what brings you peace, strength, and joy instead of feelings like sadness, anger, or fear. Be aware of your own needs and those of others. Recognize when someone else is setting boundaries with you. Power and privilege can impact your personal boundaries and how you deal with others' boundaries. This often happens in relationships or situations with an imbalance of power, such as between a boss and an employee or a professor and a student. Use I statements to express your needs, feelings, and expectations kindly but firmly. For example, say, "I need some quiet time in the evenings." Have clear consequences for crossing a boundary and follow through with them. Some boundaries are non-negotiable, while others are flexible. Explore your boundaries in different settings to find your non-negotiable or hard boundaries and make choices aligned with your feelings or needs. Remember, boundaries can change, especially depending on the context and relationship. This goes for your boundaries and others. Consent and boundaries work together to make sure everyone's needs are being respected. Each consent question comes with a boundary answer, whether the answer is hell yes, hell no, or something in between. For more information about practicing consent, check out our Wildcats Get Consent for Students training. Sometimes we violate others' boundaries, whether intentionally or usually unintentionally. We all cause harm, whether we mean to or not. So first, give yourself grace. You are human and you're going to make mistakes and cause harm. The good news is that this is a great opportunity to repair the harm and the relationship by using an effective apology. Let's say you had some friends over to your residence hall room and they sat on your roommate's bed. Your roommate has told you before that they don't want other people sitting on their bed, but you forgot. Your roommate walks in and addresses it with you after the fact. Here's how you can use the 5 parts of an effective apology to repair your relationship with your roommate. Express regret. Share how sorry you are and that you regret what happened. Accept responsibility. Take accountability for your actions. Acknowledge the impact. Demonstrate that you understand the harm caused. Make amends. Ask how you can make it right and follow through. Share your plan for change. Share what you'll do in the future to prevent this from happening again. If you're using the worksheet, pause the video and write down 3 things you learned from this presentation. Great job completing this training on setting and respecting boundaries. For more information, we encourage you to check out the resources included on this slide. You can also find them in the video description. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email us at healthpromotion@cwu.edu. Follow us on Instagram at CWU Health Promotion to learn more about our upcoming events and giveaways. Thank you for taking the time to learn how to build a culture of respect at CWU.